Ma'am, we are live on YouTube. You can continue.
Okay. A very good afternoon to everyone. I welcome you all for this guest lecture on 2nd February 2025. This guest lecture is being organized on World Wetland Day by Plant Conservation Society, Raghunath Girls Postgraduate College, Meerut. World
जितेंद्र कहाँ
Wetland Day,
है? क्यों?
celebrated on February 2 every year,
बैग उठा लो
marks
ऊपर
the
से और
anniversary of
वो
the
बंद कर
Ramsar
लो।
Convention, which was signed in 1971 in Ramsar, Iran. This important treaty focused on protecting wetlands and using them wisely. It also played a key role in raising global awareness about the value of wetlands. Wetlands are
I
areas
think you are
where
mute. No, ma'am. She's audible. Audible.
yes,
Garima
ma'am.
is audible. Okay.
Wetlands are areas where the land is covered by water either permanently or seasonally, and the water table is usually at or near the surface. Despite covering only a portion of Earth's surface, wetlands support a large variety of plant and animal species. World Wetland Day serves as a reminder of the many benefits wetlands provide, such as flood control, biodiversity, water purification, and climate regulation. It also highlights the urgent need to protect these ecosystems, which are disappearing at an alarming rate, to ensure they continue supporting biodiversity. World Wetland Day 2025 centers on the theme Protecting Wetlands for Our Common Future. This year, global campaigns underscored the urgency of bold action to protect these natural habitats for the welfare of all people, and so future generation can continue to benefit from all that wetlands provide us. Healthy wetlands are critical for climate mitigation, adaptation, biodiversity, and human health. In many areas, unsustainable development, pollution, and climate change threaten the health and existence of these essential ecosystems. So, in line of that, today we are organizing a guest lecture on World Wetlands Day, and we have our resource person with us. Before the formal introduction of our resource person, I request our principal ma'am, I request our principal ma'am to come for the welcome address. I welcome our principal, Professor Niveta Malik ma'am. Welcome, ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. Monica, ma'am, please stop your screen sharing right now. You can start later on. Actually, video is not sharing, na?
Okay. Monica ma'am, could you please stop sharing your screen?
Yes, may I start?
Yes, ma'am, please. I welcome you for the welcome address.
Yes, no issue. Picture is display on the screen from Monica ma'am. It is introductory picture, no issue. प्लांट कंजर्वेशन सोसाइटी की ओर से ये एक इनिशिएटिव गेस्ट लेक्चर ऑन वेटलैंड पर जो है, इसका मुझे लगता है हम लोग के लिए नॉलेज इनहेंस के साथ साथ प्रैक्टिकली हम किस तरह से अपने बच्चों को इन चीज़ों
But for many years, wetlands were neglected. But gradually, ecologists started talking. Ecologists said that, see, if you're thinking now about the terrestrial ecosystems, you got to think about the aquatic ecosystems as well. Wetland are important ecosystems. You cannot neglect them. So, across the world, not only in India, it was a worldwide kind of a awakening that we must conserve wetlands. We must think about the wetlands, and many decisions were taken. Many non-government organizations also came forward. You must have heard about the Ramsar Convention, right? In ecology, in environment science. So Ramsar is a place in Iran where one of the meetings took place, where the leaders from across the world who were concerned about the wetlands, they came together and they said that wetlands need to be discussed on the worldwide scale. We need to have some discussions. We need to have some conservation strategies. strategies, we need to have some kind of support also. So the central principle of the Convention on Wetlands, which was held in Ramsar, which is a place in Iran, said that we must consider that wetlands have ecological, social, and economic values. Recognizing that is important. Second is that the countries, should be designating certain sites as Ramsar sites, which are very, very important wetlands and which are under some degree of degradation and all, so that the world attention is caught up, and then also you can have some kind of a help coming in from the bodies which can help in restoration and all. So specific criteria was determined if the wetland qualifies to be a Ramsar site. If the wetland is a Ramsar site, then there will be a lot of attention. Government will have to pay funds. It will get national importance. So countries are encouraged to develop and implement management plans for their Ramsar sites to ensure that they are sustainably used. The Ramsar Convention also promotes collaboration between the countries to share the knowledge. So if RG College does some work on wetlands and they gain some new insights, they can share it with Delhi so that we can implement some of those strategies. And if some strategies work in Dadri, they can also work in the adjacent area. So our knowledge base has to be broadened, and same is true about something happening in Iran or Pakistan or China. The wetlands are common natural heritage areas, so we must share the knowledge and we must do work. And signatory countries are required to monitor the status of Ramsar sites. So it is not that Ramsar site is a medal. Ramsar site is also a responsibility. If any wetland site gets a Ramsar site, so it also tells us that we have to take care of this site. So, initially there were 4 or 5 Ramsar sites. Gradually, every year the Ramsar site number is increasing. There were 59, but yesterday's newspaper only said that 5 new Ramsar sites had been added, and today we have 85 Ramsar sites. So this is the data which I took from a newspaper. So till then it was 75 or 76, now it is 85. And the common and prominent India's wetlands in the list are Chilka, Wular in Kashmir, Renuka, then Sambar Lake, which is in Rajasthan. Then you have the Kolkata Lake, and you have wetlands of the Narmada region. In Assam, there are many wetlands. In Manipur, there are very many wetlands. So there are lots of wetlands which are now on the list of the major wetlands that are deserving the attention. Now, this is the latest. India adds 5 more wetlands to the list of Ramsar sites. This takes our tally to 80. Now, this was last year, and we have now 85, right? So we are increasing the number of wetlands every year. So again, what is Ramsar's Convention on Wetlands is very, very important, because when you gain a title of the Ramsar site, when you say that you have the site is a Ramsar site, then you have to see to all these things, that it should not be there should not be eutrophication, there should not be invasive species. See, this is the site of some of the wetlands. This was the Sultanpur Jheel, which is in Haryana. Okay, this I took from the internet. I don't know, but this is my original picture which we clicked in Sultanpur Jheel. These are the fields near the Sultanpur Jheel which send the NPK into the adjacent Sultanpur and is causing eutrophication. This is Wular Lake, the right side of my panel. So see, again, when I went, this is 2014 picture, because it's showing that earlier it was a very clean water body, and Wular is one of the largest lakes in Asia. So it's a site which regulated the temperature, and it had a lot of wealth in terms of biodiversity. Many interesting species of amphibians, of the mollusks have been for the first time found out in this area. And if you have mollusks, annelids, and all trophic levels that also show that your ecosystem is healthy. But 2014, it was a saddening, and I really felt bad about the status of the wetland, despite so much of money pumping in from the government. Nothing is happening. These are some of the clean wetlands, right? Slightly cleaner wetlands of Srinagar. So this is what we should have. You can compare the quality of water between the two, right? So you see the water looks cleaner. Here you have eutrophication and all. So, these are this is a picture of one of my students who did some of the work in Surajpur and Danotri wetland, because, we thought that these are the areas, because the girl comes from Greater Noida only, and Surajpur wetland is some 20 kilometers from her place, and Danotri is, I think, slightly, far away from her place. So she wanted to do her PhD. So she's still working, and we thought that let's also venture into wetland ecology, because I teach ecology and environmental science in my college. So she looked at some of the interesting parameters of the wetland. Again, Greater Noida, what kind of growth is happening there. Construction waste, you have domestic waste, and agriculture, agricultural activities are also taking place, though they have reduced because people are now selling off their land to the land mafia is there. And a lot of land mafia is trying to encroach wetlands. I told you, wetland doesn't belong to a person. It is a common land. It belongs to the government. It belongs to the authority. But gradually, and people are encroaching on the catchment areas, on the bunds, and they have started construction. And also, because agricultural activities are prominent, there's lot of eutrophication there. So we looked at the quality of the water, and we did some of the physicochemical water analysis. Because the thesis is not yet written, it is still under publication. I just want to tell you that what we are observing is that the Surajpur wetland is in a very bad state in terms of the ecological health. We did not see many species of the green algae there. Though you have plants, the flowering plants such as angiosperms, but algae is missing, which is also not a good indicator of the water quality. So we are trying to analyze the data, and probably we will come out with some publication soon. But what I want to tell you is that the wetland, because if you ask for projects, government doesn't give money to do work. So this girl is supporting probably her education almost herself. Okay, so we don't have grants to travel, and we don't have grants to go in for frequent visits and all. So there's some kind of support is also needed from the institutions, from the colleges, to support somebody who's trying to do some kind of work on wetlands. So that encourages us. This is a picture from one of my friends' gallery, and his name is Professor Professor Suresh Babu. Professor Suresh Babu is working in Ambedkar University, and he's a professor of human ecology. So the lake you see here, the water body you see here is Dirpur wetland. So Dirpur wetland is not far away from Delhi University campus. Yeah. So what is, just few years back, this wetland was highly polluted. It had all those issues which I just brought to your notice: eutrophication, invasive species, the dissolved oxygen levels were very, very low in the water body. The pH was highly acidic. There were lots of contaminants which were seen in the water body, but they took up this work. The university has a center for wetland research, and Professor Babu heads that. So he initiated the work of restoration on this wetlands. And they grew plants in the catchment areas. They planted the native species of the region. And why do you need plants in the catchment area? Because they are very, very important to preserve this wetland. All silt and all, or all waste, or all um, agrochemical laden, contaminated water will not go into the wetland directly. The plants here will serve as filters. They'll filter the water out, and then kind of a constructed wetland kind of thing. When the water passes through different vegetation, it will slightly get cleaned up, and then it will go into the water body. So they used all kinds of scientific methods to restore this water body. This is just one example. There is, you must have heard about Professor C.R. Babu. Professor C.R. Babu was the professor in the Department of Botany, and he's a very famous ecologist. And he started with restoration of the degraded ecosystem. He initially started this program on the terrestrial ecosystems. But with that, when you take care of terrestrial ecosystems, he was working on Yamuna Biodiversity Park. And Yamuna Biodiversity Park is actually on a catchment area. And there are lots of water bodies around. So he took up the restoration work of the Yamuna Biodiversity Park and the adjacent water bodies. And you see now the water is so clear, and you have all kinds of trophic levels visible. The quality of the water has changed, and many migratory birds these days are coming and visiting. You see people go with binoculars. The bird watchers are visiting every day. So that aesthetic appeal of the wetlands, which was lost, has come back. It has been restored. So if the water body is polluted, and when you restore it, you can see startling changes. And as scientists, we look at some of the parameters, physicochemical parameters, microbial aspects, soil factors, hydric soil conditions, the quality of the soil. So this is when the wetland was unrestored, right? Just this is a hypothetical diagram where everything is in a bad shape. The pH is too acidic, the microbes are few, there is no stratification in the water body, the trophic levels are not many. So and it's not playing its proper load. The biodiversity has decreased in a contaminated wetland. But you see, when you have these plants there, the plants are the indicators of the quality of water. The soil parameters such as pH, such as moisture, density, they all tell us that the soil has improved, the wetlands have improved. Now the question is, as teachers, as students, as civil society, because we represent that part of, we are the representatives of the civil society. We are teaching in educational institutes where we have lots of students who we can influence. And then we are also researchers. So what should be, people often ask कि मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ, ये मैं थोड़ी कर सकता हूँ, मैंने थोड़ी गंदा किया. But as informed citizens, if we know now, all of you know, I know, it is the kind of reinforcement on every wetland day. We want to remind ourselves that wetland is important. Everything which I told you, I'm sure you knew before, but it is kind of reinforcement from your teacher, Dr. Garima Malik, that all of you again tell yourselves that let's not forget, it's important. These commemorative days are for that. So as teachers, as students, one is our curriculum. There is lot of scope in our curriculum. We have paper in every subject. When I went through the syllabus, anthropologists teach wetlands, geologists have the topic on wetlands, environmental studies people talk about wetlands, environmental lawyers talk about wetlands, zoology teachers teach wetlands, botany teachers teach wetlands. तो curriculum में तो बहुत content है. One is curriculum, of course, that is to understand the science of it. Okay, basic science, as If we don't know the basic sciences, and if we don't know what are the ecological processes going on in the wetland, what are the indicators of the deteriorating water quality, we will not be able to do justice. Curriculum is important, but at the same time, wetlands cannot be restored if your society, the communities which are living nearby, are not educated. So how do we teach them? Every person should be a part of the wetland conservation committee, village panchayat head, the DM of the region, everyone, the teachers, the students, shopkeepers, the women, everyone should be the part of the wetland conservation. So February 2 World Wetland Day tells us, and this year's theme is our common future. See, if we do not protect wetlands, we are going to lose on many fronts. Our Prime Minister often talks about mission life, lifestyle changes for environment. We are talking about Vasudev Kutumbakam. This is a uh, World Wetland Day. We are talking about being the leaders in the global south, right? In Southeast Asia, we want to be the leaders. So as a country where our focus is also on SDG goals, 20 by 2030 we want to achieve most of the sustainable goals. We want the country 20 by 2047 to be Viksit. We want a developed country, right? So any one person cannot do it, and if we have to collaborate in these targets which have been set up by our government, the targets which have been set up by the Prime Minister. So I would, reiterate that all of us can do certain things. We can do the popularization of the wetland importance by writing on the newspapers. We can write blogs. We can put Facebook messages. We can put Insta messages, and students are very good at it. So, and then you can do small projects. I told you about this project which we are doing in Surajpur and Dhanotri. And of course, research work does need the grants and funds, but small steps, collaborative work with 2 3 people. We can collaborate with you if you have some wetland along, because we have some experience now on working while working on the Dhanotri and Surajpur. So we all need to collaborate, come together, and then on the idea of having the restored wetlands and protection of the wetlands for the common future is possible. So before I wind up and take a few questions, because I want to keep some margin for the questions, I thank you all for the patient listening. I thank all the people who have contributed their resources on various websites which come very easy while we develop our lectures, and teachers are exempted from certain things. We can just use it for classroom teaching. So I'm using some of the content from the World Wide Web. There are various search engines which had very good photographs. Some of the images are mine, some I have borrowed from Professor Suresh Babu's work on Dirpur wetland, and many of the pictures have been taken from the World Wide Web. And I also want to thank my teachers, especially my guide Professor A.K. Bhatnagar, my teacher Professor C.R. Babu, who taught us ecology, and then friends who are who are bird watchers and who used to take us on the wetlands on some mornings. And today, this talk, I had to revisit many of the things and update my talk, and for that I'll like to thank principal of RJ College Meerut, and especially Garima, who told me that I have to give a talk. And this is also a kind of learning. When you are asked to give a talk, you go revisit many things. So thank you for making me more aware about some of the recent things which are happening in wetlands. I did not share many things. I wanted to make it simple for students. I did not want to put on data and figures and tables. because that might bore you on a Sunday afternoon. And so I thought I'll make it simple. The idea is to make you more aware, and I want you to work now. I want you to be responsible citizens, so that you in your own ways can do something about the restoration of the wetlands. Thank you so much. I would like to take a few questions, because that will tell me that people were listening. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Of course, everyone was listening. You can see the chat box. Everybody is appreciating your lecture, ma'am. Now, I would like to request participants, if you have any question, you can unmute yourself and ask the question directly from our resource person, Professor Monica Kaul. मोनिका मैम, अभी जैसे आपने अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में बताया कि आपने वेटलैंड्स पे रिसर्च शुरू करी है, आपकी एक पीएचडी स्टूडेंट है जो सूरजपुर में रिसर्च कर रही है। आपने बताया कि फिजियोकेमिकल एनालिसिस आप लोग कर रहे हैं, आप स्पीशीज की वेराइटीज, कितनी स्पीशीज है, क्या डेंसिटी, ये सब स्टडी कर रहे हैं। तो मैम मैं अपने स्टूडेंट्स के लिए जानना चाहूंगी कि अगर हमारे इलाके के आसपास, जैसे कि हम जानते हैं कि हमारे इंडिया में सबसे ज्यादा जो वेटलैंड्स है वो तमिलनाडु के अंदर है। तमिलनाडु के बाद सबसे ज्यादा वेटलैंड्स यूपी के अंदर है, बहुत बड़ा स्टेट है हमारा। और अगर आप देखें तो मेरठ जोन में भी काफी गंगा के करीब का जो रीजन है, हस्तिनापुर के करीब का जो रीजन है, वो सारा वेटलैंड्स के अंदर आता है। और हमारे स्टूडेंट्स भी काफी रिसर्च ओरिएंटेड प्रोजेक्ट सब कर रहे हैं एनईपी के अंतर्गत। तो मैं आपसे जानना चाहूंगी कि छोटे छोटे प्रोजेक्ट जो यूजी और पीजी लेवल पर हम स्टूडेंट्स को करा सकते हैं, उसमें हम वेटलैंड्स को लेके किस डायरेक्शन में काम कर सकते हैं?
See, as I said, that wetland is an ecosystem, right? So there are people who study hydrology, water की movements कैसी हैं. So they are looking at winds का क्या impact है hydrology से of the water. They are only looking at that. There are people who are looking at economic aspects. So valuing the ecosystem services, and they are doing ecological economics. Okay, they are assigning value to wetlands have lot of zooplanktons, phytoplanktons, and lots of bacteria that are very prompt in decomposition. अगर जो wetlands waste absorb करती है, अगर उस wetland को, उस waste को हमें वैसे decompose करना हो तो कितना पैसा लगेगा? We making comparisons. So some people are doing economic evaluation, but as teachers of biology, I would say there is a lot of scope. One is we can look at the quality of the habitat, water body. So you can look at the parameters, all physicochemical parameters. You can look at the BOD, COD, chlorine content, turbidity. You can look at the various, if the water body is contaminated, what are the contaminants? What kind of xenobiotics are there? You can also look at the diversity, as I said. Diversity is a very good indicator of the health of a wetland. If somebody is good at identifying algae, you can look at the algal biodiversity. And now many of these algae also have commercial importance. Maybe when you get you may get some new algae in the water body, and that new algae may have some potential secondary metabolites. There is a possibility that you can patent that metabolite, which, because every water body is so different, and we have not done much work on the water bodies. I'm telling you, if we are able to even identify new species from water bodies, and that would be new addition to the flora of the region, because it is just it's a very in Kashmir people used to work on water bodies because वहाँ पे बहुत सारी water bodies हैं. बट बहुत एरियाज में लोगों ने काम ही नहीं किया वाटर बॉडीज पे. जब दिस वर्क व्हिच आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट, प्रोफेसर A.K. Pandey, who was in he was a taxonomist in the department of the botany, and this girl is co-registered. She is actually basically, I'm the co-supervisor of this girl. So this girl took up the work because she had friends in the pollution control board, and she's going there and doing the analysis work there. So now CPCB, even the Noida authority, is very keen to help people who want to do research on the wetlands of UP. I would suggest that you can do phytosociological studies. You can study the diversity of the plants, including your maybe some algae, and or if you have some aquatic ferns or aquatic there are lots of pteridophytes growing in the marshy areas as well. So that kind of studies floristic diversity near the wetlands. You can also think of which plants are helping in groundwater recharging, so suggesting the species which can help in after you do some survey and analysis. So then you can also look at the remediation methods. For example, finding out what is the major cause of the pollution in your water body. So you can have a tail. See, for every water body, what is done in America will not work in Meerut. So we generally rely on the research of the scientists who have done work in China or Hong Kong or Ontario Lake or Michigan Lake. What is happening in Michigan Lake is not happening in Surajpur Lake, or what is happening in Surajpur Lake is not happening in Wuller Lake or Manasbal Lake. So we have to understand that regional level work you will only have to do. Nobody else can do it as meticulously as you can do. So there is an immense scope of taking up.
That's true, ma'am. Local problems के लिए हम local solution ही ढूंढ सकते हैं. That's really true.
And it will be easy for the students to visit, collect samples, look at the biodiversity, because you again need to see seasonal variations. If you want to do long-term studies, a PhD work, then you will have to do it for 3 consistent seasons. So every season you will have to visit. So that way, it is nice if somebody near the region takes up a work. And if you have to do some sophisticated instrumentation and all, you can always go in for collaboration. I told you, this work is not, I am in the topmost college of the University of Delhi, but then we also do not have that kind of infrastructure. We look up to others for help. So that is how things work.
Yes, ma'am, that's true. And the most important thing is that if we talk about our environment, then humans should think beyond their greed. इकोनॉमिक गेन के लिए हम सोच रहे हैं, लेकिन जो इकोनॉमिक गेन के लिए हम अपनी इकोलॉजी को खराब कर रहे हैं, शायद उसके बारे में हम सिर्फ बोलते हैं, लेकिन धरातल पे हम कितना काम कर रहे हैं ये मैटर करेगा अब से, क्योंकि काफी सेमिनार्स होते हैं, काफी टॉक्स होती हैं और वो वहीं पे खत्म हो जाती है. लेकिन अगर उस टॉक या सेमिनार से हम एक बंदा भी उससे कोई नॉलेज लेके कुछ करना चाहे, तो शायद वो ही एक फ्रूटफुल चीज है इस तरह की सेमिनार और टॉक की.
See, Garima, you have actually pointed out the right thing. Seminars and these workshops and all, they do not influence majority. But again, I tell you, sometimes even if 2 people in a group get influenced, that is how things happen. When we were in our when we used to study, that time also, one of the teachers would say something and that will hit us, and we do something about it. We try our best. So maybe some of the students who are here might get interested to do this kind of a work. As teachers, we just have to motivate and tell them what is happening, right?
So any other participants? अगर कोई क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहता है, they can unmute themselves and ask, or they can write in the chat box.
I think Sunday afternoon they would want to have lunch now.
Okay, then it's time for thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank our resource person, Professor Monica Call, ma'am, for her time and for her enlightening lecture. And I would like to thank our principal, ma'am, Professor Nivedita, ma'am, जो हमें मोटिवेट करती हैं, हमेशा चाहती हैं कि हम कुछ नया करें. उसी सिलसिले में आज प्लांट कंजर्व सोसाइटी ने इस लेक्चर को किया वेटलैंड डे पे. और मैं बताना चाहूंगी हमारे जितने भी पार्टिसिपेंट्स ऑल ओवर इंडिया है मैम, 7 स्टेट से हमारे यहाँ पे रजिस्ट्रेशन है. उत्तर प्रदेश ऑफकोर्स, जम्मू कश्मीर, हरियाणा, दिल्ली, हिमाचल प्रदेश, महाराष्ट्र और बिहार से इस लेक्चर में जो पार्टिसिपेंट्स उन्होंने अपने आप को रजिस्टर किया है. काफी सारे लोग जूम पे हमारे साथ हैं और काफी लोग यूट्यूब पे इस लेक्चर को देख रहे हैं. और आज के इस प्रोग्राम को सक्सेसफुल बनाने के लिए मैं अपने सारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स का थैंक्स कहना चाहूंगी. और इसी के साथ हम सब विदा लेते हैं और इस संकल्प के साथ विदा लेते हैं कि आज इस वर्ल्ड वेटलैंड डे पर हम अपनी वेटलैंड्स को बचाने के लिए कुछ ना कुछ जरूर करेंगे। एक छोटा सा स्टेप कल हमारे लिए एक बड़ी चीज कर सकता है। तो इसी के साथ हम सब आज एक दूसरे से विदा लेते हैं। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू मोनिका मैम,
Thank you.
थैंक यू सो मच।
It was a nice platform, and I thank you for inviting me. All the best to all of you. And students, I hope you have taken away some key points from this talk and you will implement them in your day-to-day life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's all for today. You can see the feedback link in the chat box. You can give us your feedback. I will also mail the link on your email ID. Thank you so much. That's all for today. Namaskar.
Bye, Garima.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, madam,
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, all the participants.
for
Margoop,
organizing
sir.
this nice lecture. Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining, sir. Margoop, sir, you may end the meeting, please.
Okay, ma'am.